Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. I have in previous episodes of the Daily Fix indicated how the crime scene in the sense of Meyiwa trial was never treated like a crime scene. The Kumalo house was never treated as a crime scene. One of the basic things in forensic investigation is that a crime scene must be cordoned off to ensure that it does not get contaminated and that evidence within the crime scene does not get compromised. Because once that evidence gets compromised, then it becomes virtually impossible for anybody coming in to try and investigate the matter to make any headway at all. In the sense of Meyiwa trial, we have it on good authority that the crime scene was severely compromised, such that it was virtually impossible to conduct a proper investigation into what had really happened there. Now, let us take another angle. Remember Teffo? I've always said Teffo will be part and parcel of this investigation and trial for God knows how long. It was Teffo who first of all brought to attention 375, remember? And it is also important to reiterate that Teffo brought to attention the existence of docket 375, the docket that says there were no intruders into that house, through cross-examination, cross-examination of Sergeant Mosia, the first prosecution witness. So, docket 375 was not willingly disclosed to Teffo by Advocate Baloyi, who had a duty to do so. Baloyi had a duty of disclosure to bring to Teffo's attention the existence of 375. This is a basic requirement, because without 375, the defense of the accused persons would then get, without the disclosure rather of 375, the defense of these 5 people in the dock that we see in the Pretoria High Court was bound to be severely compromised and has severely been compromised. So this was kept away from our eyes and ears by Baloyi, the prosecutor, and was elicited by Teffo through cross-examination. Teffo went a step further. Under cross-examination, Sergeant Mosia, considered that, in fact, the crime scene could have been contaminated. Now, this evidence by Mosia corroborates what I have been told by, among others, Constable Tapadima was part of that investigation. That the crime scene was never treated as a crime scene. People walked in and out. They could have left their fingerprints there. They could have left their footprints there. They could have left their own hairs there. Forensic investigators like Mosia went into that, crime scene without wearing proper forensic suits and so on and so forth. It was just a total mess, right? So the investigation was doomed from the very beginning. And there were people in and around that crime scene who had no business being there. You see, every person on a crime scene has got a reason to be there. If you have got no role to play on a crime scene, you have no business being there. We had people like Chico. Soon after Senzo Meyiwa was shot, Chico was on the scene. We had people like, General Sibia. What was General Sibia doing there? Right? What was he doing there? He had no business being there, just like Chico. Now, I would like to bring a clip of an interview of a forensic investigator and expert in the field who will give us, an overview of just how important crime scenes are and their preservation in the investigation of any criminal matter. Just take a listen to this.
There today, he admitted that the crime scene at Phosphorus Township on the East Rand may have been tampered with. Mosia, the state's first witness, also admitted that finding police officers and witnesses at the crime scene would have compromised the crime scene, shall I say. Joining us now to discuss integrity and handling of the crime scene is independent forensic scientist Dr. David Klatzer. Dr. Klatzer, good evening and thank you very much for your time and for joining us.
Good evening to your listeners.
The state's first witness, forensic officer Sergeant Mosia, conceding under cross-examination by the defense that the crime scene in the sense of Meyiwa murder trial could have been compromised. 5-hour delay in processing forensic evidence, Dr. Klatzer. Is that the first thing that he should have done when he took to that stand, admit that there was contamination?
Well, the problem with contamination and damage to a crime scene is that it places the state in a position which is irrecoverable. You can't recover from it at all. And the reason is that you damage evidence which may be invisible to the human eye. So when you deal with a crime scene, you need to cordon off the crime scene completely, often wider than you think the crime scene might be, and you need to place an officer on duty to make sure that only people who are authorized and who've got a proper function on the crime scene are there. And there needs to be a record kept, have times of people, and ranking should not play a role. If you want to just come and have a quick look, it's got nothing to do with you. You should have a purpose on the crime scene. That's the first thing. And if you don't have a purpose and a purpose for being there, you shouldn't be on the crime scene. The second thing is that once you establish the crime scene, you need to preserve as much as possible. So you need to put down special access routes onto the crime scene, and you should use those. You don't go stomping around the crime scene in your big hobnail boots. You make certain that you go on a specific path which is laid down so that you don't destroy evidence. The other point about it is that when you're on a crime scene, you yourself will start to leave evidence, not only of DNA, but of fingerprints and other things as well. So you need to be properly kitted out in order to go on a crime scene. You can't just go on and drop hairs all over the place and put your fingerprints on things. You need to be properly gloved and properly wearing a forensic suit with proper covering for your feet. Now, when that is not done, you risk damaging the crime scene in such a way that vital evidence that may be required either for the prosecution or for the defense becomes totally compromised. And as I said, you can never get back from that. You can always downgrade a scene of crime to a scene of death, but you can never go from a scene of death to a scene of crime again.
So there we have it, from a leading forensic investigator. Once the crime scene is compromised, there is nothing that you can do about it. So in the sense of Meyiwa trial, this was done by those who were on the crime scene running all over the place, such that people have sold a story of the intruder story now, you know. But what I'm trying to bring to your attention here is the forensic investigation was just botched, right? It was not a proper forensic investigation, because you'll remember that I've said in the past, no gunshot residue tests were done on these people because they're not treated as suspects. But above all, the crime scene, the Kumalo house, right? People walked in and out and did as they pleased. That is how the tragedy that we face in the Meyiwa saga began. This is why we are, 11 years later, still struggling to find answers to what happened here. It all started very wrong. And once it had started wrongly, we then, of course, had to have a second docket, right? We then had to have a second docket because there were those junior officers who were saying, no. This intruder theory is not supported by the evidence that, we found on the ground. Warrant Officer Makubu is on record for saying this. You remember how during the trial within a trial, Makubu testified specifically about how the second docket came to be opened, because there were differences of opinion, Makubu told the court. And so other people took the view that they were intruders, other people took the view that there were no intruders, right? But immediately after Makubu had done that, you remember how strongly and strenuously Baloyi, right, wanted to, sometimes the court must dismiss the evidence of Makubu as irrelevant, right? But it is not irrelevant for all intents and purposes. There's no irrelevance about it, because Makubu was bringing to our attention what Baloyi himself had failed to disclose. There you have it. Like I always say, need I say more today? No. Let us leave the rest for another day, perhaps tomorrow. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the views that I'm seeing and the subscriptions. And please, like I always say these days, don't skip those ads. They keep the home fires burning. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
You can't go in a reverse direction.
So, Dr. Kasa, sorry, can I